Hello, this is Björn from Captain Casa. Today, some information about my favorite topic, hot deployment. Let's see what's behind. Captain Casa is a server-side UI framework. This means you don't know JavaScript, you don't know CSS, you don't know HTML, you don't know DOM element manipulation, you don't know about browser incompatibilities and all these issues, because what you do is you live on server-side, you design your web dialogues here, you design your interaction here, you react on a button pressing by implementing a Java method which is executed on server-side. So that's the big advantage. This is the efficiency advantage of server-side development. Now, you are on server-side. What is the background of it? The background is that, well, in many cases, you somehow are automatically part of the server-side build cycles and the server-side deployment cycles. And this means, if you look inside, on server-side, you know systems like Maven, Gradle, to produce out of the code some deliverable unit, some WAR file, some EAR file, whatever. Then this is deployed to Tomcat, to JBoss, whomever. And then inside Tomcat, it's restarted. So all these processes, if you execute them, sometimes take something like 1 to 3 minutes. And it's a hell if you are a developer and have to always wait for little changes, going through all this process to wait for the result to test it. So from development point of view, for a UI developer, it's totally annoying, because what you want to do is you want to change the UI, you want to test it. Change UI, test it. And this development round trip between change and test should take something like seconds and not half a minute, 1 minute, or whatever. So what is the technology solution that Captain Casa provides as an inherent part of the design time environment to overcome this? And it's quite simple concept. The concept is totally built on normal Java procedures. So it's not magic, it's just built on what is there in Java from the beginning on. And I also have to say the concept was in Captain Casa from the beginning on. So it's also no new concept, it's just a re-emphasizing of existing concepts. Well, we just have now to decouple the reloading of classes, the reloading of changed classes during development, and say, okay, we need short development round trips if it comes to interaction classes. So we need something which is something like a hot deploy, which we frequently do. Every time we change things, we hot deploy. Every time we change things, we hot deploy. And we do not have to go through this hell of procedure, which here takes minutes. And the key of this is to look into the Java class loading concepts. And Java class loading concepts are also known in Java from the beginning on, and they are good known to any developer. But first I will tell you, what does a class loader do? A class loader has the task to read the classes from the file system, for example, and to bring them into the virtual machine so that their files are executed. Now, what you can do with the class loader, or what the API allows you to do, is you can throw away a class loader and you open up a new one. And this new one will reread all the new classes which may have changed in the meantime and will execute them accordingly. So that's the purpose of the class loader. You all know class loaders when you work, for example, with Tomcat. Let's check here. We have this green box here, which is running a Tomcat instance, and we have this user interface of the Tomcat manager. They're equivalent screens for other application servers. We see the applications which are loaded. Each application is loaded in a class loader on its own, so that they are firewalled in between. Well, this is our application hot deploy, which we take a look on, and now we can just reload it. And by reloading, Tomcat will reread everything from the scratch, from the database, from the file system, and will then restart the application. And now you see the application really is restarted, and it takes some time to restart. Caches are read, or whatever is done. So this is a typical start of the application time. Well, so you could say we already have a hot exchange of classes. So we do not have to restart the whole Tomcat with all its applications. We just can restart the one application which we want to focus on. But you still see this application takes something like half a minute to start up. So as a UI developer, to always do a code restart of the whole application is not an option. It's just taking too long. So what we need to do is very simple reaction. We have to introduce a class loader in front of this big Tomcat class loader. We have to have a class loader in which the interaction classes are loaded. And we have to find a way to exchange these classes more frequently by exchanging the class loader than the big ones running in the background, so to speak. And that's all behind the concept. This means we have hot deploy classes. We have areas in which classes are defined, interaction classes are defined, which are fastly reloaded by new class loaders, whereas the classes which are in the background, so to speak, are kept more stable, yeah, and are kept in the normal class loader of the application server. Okay, so how does it work? Because this sounds a bit abstract and a bit complex. In reality, it's totally simple. So I will show you how it is defined. In Captain Casa, there's a project definition, and in this project definition, I just navigate to it. So this is the sign tools of Captain Casa. You see there's an area hot deployment. And this hot deployment is activated, and now you define these packages, which are the ones to be managed by hot deployment. So now we have an application test hot deploy, and there's a view package, and all the classes in this package and its subpackages are treated to be hot deployed. So these are loaded by hot deployment class loader, whereas all the other ones are loaded in a normal way. Looking into the project, you see this structure, of course, reflected. We have a logic part of the project, we have a view part of the project, and you now see everything which is below view is hot deployed, everything which is logic is classically deployed. And this means now we see, okay, we have implementations. We, for example, have an Hello World UI implementation. Well, let's check how it works. Hello World is the layout here, so I open up the layout. We see the layout has a button. This button here is calling method on say hello action, and the typical thing is you input a name, AAA, you say hello, and you get Hello World AAA with 3 exclamation marks. Well, we want to change this. This is too aggressive, 3 exclamation marks. We want to reduce it to 1. So we have to go to the code, say hello action, and check what it's doing here. This is the code of this button here, and this is the place where the 3 exclamation marks are defined. Let's reduce it to 1, save it. By saving, Eclipse automatically compiles. We go back to this environment, and now we just press the deploy button. And the deploy button now finds out it's only a change in the interaction layer of the program. So it's only a change in the view package. The logic package is not affected at all. And you now saw just a hot deployment was taking place. Maybe I talked too much, so you did not see it, yeah? But I just repeated. So let's go back to a question mark, yeah? So, zack, I have 3 question marks now. I save it, and now you see, I press deploy, and things are brought into the server. So that's the file copying. A hot deployment is done, and now it's a matter of 2.5 seconds, and you can test it. So you can say AAA, say hello. Now we have 3 question marks just to do this. 1 question mark, I compile it again, deploy it. Back again, here it is. And AAA, it's 1 question mark. So that's the speed of development if you use this hot deployment concept. The nice story is, if you now change something in the logic, for example, we have this app starter which simulates a heavy starting of the application. There are 3 exclamation marks here. So I don't want to see them here. I want to have a output here without these exclamation marks. So I now change something in the code for the logic part, and I now say deploy and observe here. Now the big reload is taking place. So now the whole application is started, restarted, because there was a change outside the hot deployment area. So it's very easy. You just have to define areas of application, packages of your application which are hot deployed, and the other ones which are classically hot deployed, and more or less that's it. Well, let's get back to the slides and take a look. Well, you see, this class over here, the principle is that this one is reloaded, reloaded, reloaded with every hot deployment, and the big application class loader is kept stable. Use hot deployment, that's a big message. Now, you might say, why don't always people use hot deployment? Yeah, because what happens in many projects, or in some projects, is hot deployment requires a very strong separation between interaction classes, which then access the business logic classes. And there's a clear dependency. The interaction classes, they know the application logic classes, but not vice versa. You know, it would be a shame if your code in the business logic side would be dependent on the UI. Yeah, you would not like this from principle point of view. But if you look into projects, if you don't take care of this after 1 year, many projects, no, some projects look like this. The clear boundary between interaction and application somewhere is broken in many places, and you have cross dependencies here. So from a layered system, you are now in the system which is a little bit like a melted cheese system. Yeah, so everything is somehow connected together. And in these scenarios, it is a very bit somehow difficult to find out, hey, how do we separate for deployment? So this means in these scenarios, you have to do some re-engineering first to really say, okay, the interaction classes are separated from the application logical classes. And this is not only a perfect thing for your internal architecture, this is also the perfect base for hot deployment. So do it like this. So we say use hot deployment with a second sense from beginning on. It helps to improve the architecture of your system, and of course it helps to make your developers happy, because now round trip times are much lower than if you don't do this. Use hot deployment, that's the big message. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time. Goodbye.